Here's 3 wide receivers I like this week as sleepers. The first guy, Shepard of the New York Giants. And this Giant team, they're starting to pick it up, even though I know they're still 3-7. But they're making plays, and Daniel Jones, he's getting his receivers the ball. And Shepard, since he came back, he's been pretty solid with double-digit fantasy points in his last 4 games in PPR leagues. And now they versed the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday and give up the 10th most fantasy points to wide receivers. And I could see Shepard having anywhere from 50 to 60 yards and a touchdown in this one. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him, like I say, have 15 to 18 fantasy points. Cincinnati, they're down and out. Their franchise quarterback is down. And that team, I think they're just going to pack it in now for next season and not do much in this ball game. And I could see the Giants pass all over them and rout them in this game. So that's the first wide receiver I'm going to have as a sleeper, Shepard. The second guy was staying in New York is Rashod Perryman of the New York Jets. Perryman the last few weeks, I know it was with Joe Flacco, and Sam Darnold's expected to start in this one. But Perryman, he's caught a couple long balls in Week 9 versus New England. 5 catches, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then last week versus the Chargers, 2 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. This week they got the Miami Dolphins, which is a pretty solid defense. And they're middle of the pack. They give up the 16th most fantasy points to wide receivers. You know the Jets are going to be trailing early and often in this one. And they're going to have to make some plays. And Perryman, at least he's shown he could be a playmaker for this Jet team. Him and Denzel Mims. So I think Perryman, he could get behind the secondary for a deep one. And I won't be surprised if he gets double-digit plus fantasy points in this one. So Perryman, I have him as a sleeper. And if you really need him, go out there and get him. He's available in 88% of fantasy leagues. So he's the second guy. The third guy I have as a sleeper wide receiver is Emmanuel Sanders of the New Orleans Saints. Sanders, he hasn't been in many starting lineups in fantasy football, but he's still owned in a nice amount of leagues, 48% of leagues. And last week with the new starter Taysom Hill in there, Sanders 4 catches, 66 yards, including like a fair catch deep ball where he had to come back in and catch the ball on like a fly ball. It was funny, but anyway, here in Week 12, he versus one of his former teams, the Denver Broncos. You know Sanders is going to be fired up. They didn't want to pay him. They traded him as well to San Francisco last year. And I think Sanders, this could be a little bit of a revenge game for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he could get 70, 80 total yards and a touchdown in this one. And he's a guy I would like as a sleeper or as my third receiver of flex if you're in a deep league. So that's a few receivers I have as sleepers this week heading into Week 12.